As is the case on most Sundays, this morning's reading is just a small part of a much larger section. And that section is 3 full chapters that we know as the Sermon on the Mount. It's a really long sermon, and you're not going to have a really long sermon today, so I want to put you at ease. The focus of this portion is calling us to examine what we cherish and what we treasure. And I love the juxtaposition of this reading and Valentine's Day, and in honor of that juxtaposition, I've memorized a short poem to share with you. Last night I held a little hand, so dainty and so sweet. I thought my heart would surely burst, so wildly did it beat. No e'er a hand I held so tight could greater gladness bring than that I held so close last night, 4 aces and a king. Where your treasure is, there your heart is also. And if there are chips on the table, you just hit the jackpot. But for most of us, we're not sitting in a casino. And we're not putting all in at a game that really is stacked against us. What we're really trying to do is engage in this journey of life in a way that is meaningful and in a way that is productive. And one of the images that stands out for me is the image of a parent and a child in that very familiar ritual of crossing the street. I am always touched when I see parents approach an intersection, and automatically the little hand goes up and the big hand goes down. And you know that they've done it dozens and dozens of times, and there's something so special about that. That is a treasure that begins when we're very young, that formative relationship that says, you can trust me. Now, I'm not telling you that that little child is always a treasure, because we know that as soon as they get angry, the first thing they withhold is their hand. When we say, give me your hand, and they say, no, I'm mad at you. But we take that little gesture of holding a hand, and we carry that with us, and we know that there's value in it. If there was no value, there would be no reason to withhold it. And so as we go through life, we extend our hand in some places and we withhold it in others. And as you fast forward to your adolescent years and you recall that first moment when you sat with perhaps your Valentine and held hands for the very first time, how energizing and exciting that was. The suspense that led up to that. To recognize how beautiful it can truly be to touch another's hand and to offer yourself in that touching. Where your treasure is, there your heart is also. And those are the things that we take with us, those relationships that we've built by extending our hand and by grasping the hand of another. Toward the end of the reading, there's a word that was repeated 6 times. Did anybody catch it? It's not printed in your bulletin, so you can't cheat. Anybody? No. Hearts and come on, Bryn.
I was the teacher's pet at the last
Tell him.
service. The first service I went, anxious.
Anxious, and the translation used at this service is worry. Don't worry about what you're going to eat and drink and wear. Well, obviously he wasn't talking to a group of women about clothing, right? But don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. I'm a worrier. I don't know about you, but I do worry about things. In fact, on Friday, I went to my acupuncture appointment. I do that every 2 weeks because I hold a lot of stuff in my body, and I like to have an opportunity to clear it out and align the energy. And the acupuncturist put her hands on my back, and she said, let go of worry. And I said, I'm going to have to quote you on Sunday morning. She said, not a problem. But because I had been praying and thinking about this morning's scripture all week, I was very much in tune with my worry and trying to get underneath it. So what is it that I worry about? And I know that as a young woman, as a young professional woman, when I was in my 20s, I sold mortgages. And if you know anything about mortgages, well, I bet you've all probably, you know what it's like to pay a mortgage. But when you sell mortgages, the bigger the dollar value of the mortgage, the more money you make. And there's a big difference between residential mortgages and commercial mortgages. Commercial deals are into the millions. And I happened into a few of those residential mortgage deals. To further complicate it, they take forever to close. So you can happen upon them. And there's people that throw those commercial mortgage deals at you, and they throw it far and wide because they're just looking for funding, and they've probably already been rejected 50 times. But here comes the new girl on the block, and I'm getting all these big packages and sending them away. Well, they weren't closing. And I thought to myself, if I could just close one, I'd be set. And probably then I thought, for life, which you know is a joke. But I thought, if I could just have that nest egg all set, then I'd be good. But it wasn't closing, and it wasn't closing, and it wasn't closing. And I was feeling worse about it and worse about it. And I was learning some things about the company that were calling into question some ethical decisions. And I knew that I wasn't happy in what I was doing. And there were other things that I wanted to pursue. But I was holding out for one of those deals to close. And I remember vividly standing at the front door of my parents' home. And I was facing out. The door was open, and I was standing at the storm door. And my mother came up behind me. She knew that I was trying to get up the courage to resign and to really ultimately let go of that, what I thought would be security in that sum of money. She came up from behind me, the same woman who held my hand when I first started crossing streets. And she pushed me. Not hard, but she pushed me, and I opened the door, and I walked out, and I did resign that day. This is what worry feels like. This is what it felt like to let go of it. And to recognize that throughout the course of my life, I have always eaten more than one meal a day. I have always had options of what I was going to wear. And I have always lived in a place that is safe and secure. For me, worrying was a luxury, and it was an option. What do you worry about? There are folks among us who truly are concerned about paying next month's bill. And for that, we can reach out our hand and offer help. And then there are those of us who have many months of bills stored up just in case. And I don't know about you, but again, I'm telling you, I'm very good at worrying, so I get caught in this cycle of, I don't have enough. Well, how much is enough? I don't know, but what I have can't possibly be enough, so I better get more. That's a vicious cycle. The word vicious isn't one that sounds like it's of the Spirit, is it? So Jesus says, don't worry about what you're going to eat and what you're going to drink. Remember the lilies of the field, how they are clothed. Remember the birds of the sky, how they are taken care of. And for many of us in that room, we are the lilies and the birds. We have worked, and we have been cared for, and our lives are truly blessed with abundance. And for those who are struggling, we can reach out our hand and offer assistance. We do this on two levels. We look at this reading on two levels. One is a very personal level. me and my family? What do we cherish? What do we treasure? And how do we offer something to those who truly have something to worry about? And we do it also as a church community. Again, we take a look at what do we cherish. One of the ways that we can notice this is sort of an old-fashioned metaphor, but if you'll excuse me, is we look at our checkbook. I know not everybody has a checkbook now. We do so much online, but if you take a look at your checkbook, you can really tell what you care about. I took a look at my statement before I came, and I saw all the bills. I saw my cleaning lady, and I love her. She comes once a month. But then I saw my church pledge. I saw Simply Smiles. I saw a volunteer fire department that was collecting money for someone who was injured on duty. And I began to look, and I can tell you this now because I started looking at my checkbook 6 months ago. I used to be a little more restrictive in this area, if you know what I mean. I used to think, I'll give what I have left over, but go back to that vicious cycle. When do you ever have anything left over? Because you can always save more, right? So I started to just give off the top. And I have to tell you that this feels a lot better than this. My worry and my holding back. And you know what? There's still enough. So this Valentine's Day, you're going to remember the people that you love and the people who have touched your heart. Think too about this church community where you have extended a hand and received a hand, depending upon where you are in your life journey. And week to week, that can be very different. And think about what you have to offer. Because what you offer will make a difference in reach within the community, and it will make a difference for outreach outside of the community. And on behalf of the entire Connecticut Conference, I want to thank you for your outreach through our church's wider mission. Through that giving, you are touching the lives of 239 sister congregations in Connecticut alone, throughout the entire United States and beyond, where people are being fed and clothed and sheltered, physically and metaphorically. And metaphorically, what we have to offer is testimony to our God who has been generous with us and who asks us to be generous with others. This feels a lot better than this. And this is what changes lives. It is our church's wider mission, and it is our mission as disciples of Jesus Christ. May it be so.